Hello, and welcome to A Star to Steer Her By, episode 65.
Ooh.
I'm Chris, and joining me today are...
Ames, Caitlin,
and Jake.
Today we will be looking at Coming of Age.
Coming of age.
And Heart of Glory.
Heart of Glory.
Hole.
In Coming of Age, Wesley Crusher is taking the Academy entrance exams down on some planet. It's him and
Relva or some shit?
some bullshit, yeah. Him and three other candidates. They're taking some written tests, and then there's other bullshits too.
They get to play a video game.
Yeah.
Pew pew.
Meanwhile, Admiral Quinn, Medicine Woman, shows up with some little dick ass from the Whoozy office there, and is all like, "There's an investigation, but I'm not telling you what." And this guy from the whatever office there.
What is this? What are you introing in in the style of Caitlin? What is going on here?
I just can't remember the name of the office Remick worked for.
Oh, I didn't write that down.
Yeah, but
it was basically internal affairs.
yeah, he's basically
all intents
Starfleet
and
Internal Affairs, and he's a real prick constantly. He's grilling everyone. There's an interrogation montage. You know, we the audience are sitting there like, oh, is he trying to nab him on this? Is he trying to nab him on that? You know, the short version is that there was nothing wrong, and Admiral Quinn, Medicine Woman, knew that. But he's been seeing, there's something going on, there's a conspiracy. I don't know if it's from without or from within, but something's trying to destroy Starfleet and the Federation, and I had to make sure, I need people I can trust in key positions. So the investigation actually wasn't for anything specific, and this poor Remick guy, pissed everyone off looking for something that wasn't there. And then Quinn is all like, "You should become Commandant of the Academy. I need people I can trust close." And Picard is like, "It's full of kids."
That was my thought, too.
Me too.
Meanwhile, Wesley doesn't get into the Academy, but only just. He's beaten out by a guy who really likes vaping.
I wonder
Good.
how many L's are in Melbar?
It's a good question.
3.
In Heart of Glory, the Enterprise comes across quite literally the Kobayashi Maru situation, but waltzes right into it, where they find some Klingons having, being the lone survivors on this weird old freightery thing, and they take them back to the Enterprise. Like, oh yeah, we were attacked by Ferengi, but we held them off through trickery. And then one of them dies, and there's a screaming party. And then Worf is all
my parties are screaming parties.
Worf is all like, "Oh my god, other Klingons, I'm so excited." And Worf has a boner, and yeah. Mm-hmm. And they're buddies for a while, and then some stock footage from the motion picture shows up and is all, "Those guys are actually criminals," and there's a jailbreak, and people get killed, and soon there's only one Klingon, and, the Klingons been trying to seduce Worf into being crazy badass separatists with them, but Worf is like, "Nah, it seems bad." And so, this guy's pointing a phaser right at the warp core, and Worf's like, "No." And he shoots him, and he dies a warrior's death instead of being executed. And secretly, Worf and Captain kind of looks like the fat guy from 5 are like, "Yeah, that's for the best."
The fat guy from 5?
The Klingon ambassador from 5.
Oh, so you said from 5, and I was like, is Chris really referencing a UK boy band right now?
No. Never even heard of 5.
I'm sure you have. Baby When the Lights Go Out.
Oh, that's them. I thought that was
sing
NSYNC
a
or
little.
Backstreet Boys or Ozone or something.
Baby, when the lights go out, every single word could not express the love and tenderness.
Yeah, but if the lights are out, you're not looking at her face.
See, I always thought that was the one with Justin Timberlake, because the guy does the same horrible nasally singing.
No, that's the sound. It's like how everybody in anime sounds like one certain voice type.
Huh.
It's because it's a voice type.
Interesting.
It's the same with boy bands. They all gotta be nasally and...
Yeah, so I always thought that was Timberlake.
No. That's 5. They had a couple other hits. It's the Things You Do, I think, was also...
You doing that thing you do.
See what you started, Caitlin.
I have no regrets. No regrets.
Doing that thing.
I don't actually,
fuck it.
Good movie, though.
I like that movie.
Speaking of things we do, let's talk about Star Trek.
Take wild tangents on this podcast.
Absolutely.
Those are the things that we do.
That's a Tom Hanks movie.
The thing you do?
Yeah.
Well, we'll just continue to name Tom Hanks movies.
He was
on
almost
this
that
show.
from Coke.
It's also got that young guy in it that looks a little like Tom Hanks.
That young guy.
There's like a young version of Tom Hanks.
Huh.
But he's not Tom Hanks. This is a different guy. But he looks kind of like a young Tom Hanks.
So,
He's probably not young anymore, and that movie's like 20 years ago.
All right. Well, what did you guys think of Coming of Age? Because I was bored.
I was kind of bored.
I thought it was good. I liked it.
I
You
liked
liked
it. I did too.
I thought it was, I liked it for a couple of reasons. Number one, Wesley fucking failed.
That's true.
I was going to say, they actually gave Wesley something in character to do. Fail.
And
that was nice.
It's like...
He was a little snot, though.
He was, and the fact that, like, it was his personal Kobayashi Maru, because he didn't win, and he never dealt with failure before, and Picard had to go in and, like, make up some story about how he failed, which
Give
is
him
an
a
obvious
hug.
lie.
Picard would never fail.
Yeah.
See, I had figured, I'm jumping ahead, but it's what we do. I said, oh man, they must have to do this crazy psych test bullshit because everyone knows what the Kobayashi Maru is now, so like no one falls for it.
So they have to tailor each fucking psych test to every candidate.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which
but
seems
like holodeck, right?
which seems first of all like a lot of work and also kind of creepy. How much do you have to tell Starfleet Academy if you're applying?
Everything,
Yeah,
apparently.
I guess so. I mean, Melbar looked like he got...
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, he had to, like, watch his family drown or something.
I was thinking it'd be something sexual, but...
Oh.
I thought
you could
that
combine the
There's a
two.
dildo bike in that room.
I thought Wesley was gonna, he gets there and he's meeting the other three people and there's, that fucking thirsty girl, that really thirsty girl.
Who can't act for shit.
Yeah, she's bad. I said to Chris,
How was she a candidate for this fucking thing?
the role in the show?
Yeah.
She couldn't even do the thing with the balls and the grid and
Yeah.
the thing that looked...
What an idiot.
Yeah.
What a
She
fucking
didn't
idiot.
1-to-1.
Which, P.S., I like that neither girl came close, and by like it, I mean I was a little annoyed. But
Well, especially the Vulcan. She's a Vulcan, for Christ's
she should have
sakes.
won. But I was like, yeah, you know what Wesley's thing is going to be? He's going to have to try to unhook this girl's bra, and he's going to blow it big time.
Oh, yeah, my thing, I assumed it was going to be like he has to confront a boob.
That's it, just a boob.
There's just a boob. It's
A
like, oh,
giant,
God. Oh, God.
one
Throwing
humongous
fail.
tit. And
Have
he's
we-
just like, ah!
Has it been established in Star Trek canon at this point that Vulcans are smart, other than Spock? Because now keep in mind, this is the first Vulcan of TNG, and up to this point, the only Vulcans that we really know are Spock and Sarek, and we've seen a few here and there.
We got Spock, Sarek, Valeris, and...
We don't have
Savik.
We don't have Valeris.
That's true, though, I guess, because...
Oh, right, this is before 6.
We don't have Valeris.
I guess all we really know is that they're logical, which doesn't necessarily mean you're smart. I mean, I guess it could just mean that...
Well, by now we've had 4, though. And we see how Vulcans train their minds.
Yeah,
And-
but those could just be people who are, like, going to go to the Vulcan Science Academy or something, because the plan was for Spock to go into the Vulcan Science Academy, and he's like, fuck that, I'm going to Starfleet.
Yeah, but
So
I
it
mean-
could just be... And we only see a couple of Vulcan children. Presumably there's more Vulcan children who aren't doing that.
But Amanda does say that the retraining of his mind is in the Vulcan way. She made it sound like it's a sort of a blanket statement.
See, I always got the impression that Spock was fairly exceptional in his smarts.
I don't know. See, I kept assuming he was, like, more lackluster because he's half human, and the half human brings him down.
I think that just makes the other Vulcans more judgmental. Because, like, every time we see Vulcans, they're doing some really weird ritualistic shit. They're either doing forced arranged marriages and fights to the death. That's
doing some ponfar.
Ponfaring.
What is
Fighting
it
to the
called?
death.
Kunal Khalifi or some shit.
Kunalingus?
Hakuna Matata.
Oh yeah, the Kalima. No, what the fuck was it? Yeah.
I guess,
Kunal
though,
Khalifi?
That sounds right.
this could just be Kirk's personal bias, but they also mention, Kirk insists on a Vulcan science
he wanted
officer
a
in
Vulcan.
TMP,
That's
which...
true.
gives the impression to the audience that maybe that's the thing. Maybe Vulcans really are just all brainiacs.
Conversely, maybe Kirk is just a fucking really superstitious actor.
Well, that's
who can't
the thing.
Fly without it.
That's how it could be interpreted, but I think the way it's ultimately been interpreted over the years, just Vulcans are just brain boxes.
Used to that pointy Vulcan cock is what it was.
Yeah, with the ears.
The cock has ears?
We
We
just
talked about that
It's just-
ages ago.
Yeah.
Little tiny little cock ears.
Pyramid shaped.
Little cock ears on its little cock head. Alright, I'm fine with that.
But
It's canon now.
But no, you're right. I mean, there haven't been a ton of examples, so I think, like, you're right in that eventually the idea just sort of becomes that Vulcans, by and large, are super smart.
Yeah.
But at this point, it could have gone either way.
The other thing that I thought was kind of interesting is how the fuck, if this is the entrance exam, this is the most impossible fucking thing. However we feel about Wesley, the way the character is written, he's the smartest child that's ever lived.
Yeah.
Ever.
Other kids are like, oh, we're taking the exam against Wesley Crusher. Well, we're doomed.
Yeah, and little Jake Fuckface didn't even make it to that point.
Yeah, he was short by, 32 points or something?
Whatever. He sucks. Anyway,
He does suck, and he looks about 35 to boot.
So did Bad Actor.
The girl?
well,
Yeah.
they did make...
No.
I did like that they
Well, she
kind
didn't
of...
look 35, but she
She
did
looked in
not
her
look
early
17.
20s.
I mean,
She looked in her
Wesley's
early
supposed to be
20s.
much younger than everybody.
They made a point of saying how Wesley is...
No, I know.
Too
but
young.
The actor still looked too old.
But the fact that, like, this is the entrance exam?
Yeah.
How the fuck are there so many... And then when we meet some of the other people, we haven't met him yet, but Reg Barkley?
Yeah.
He did the fucking academy.
He went through a psych exam, apparently.
Well, let's be real, though. There's probably still nepotism and, like, lots of, like, legacy families and stuff in Starfleet. I mean, I'm not trying to diminish anyone's accomplishments here. I don't know who Reg Barkley is, but he could
He's
be...
great.
He
He's
could
a
be
fuck
from a
up.
legacy family.
That's possible.
I'm just saying.
But, it's still... It's just...
Well, like, just speaking as someone that works in higher education, right?
Oh, boy.
I'm from a big school that, to use the parlance, doesn't have trouble filling its beds, which means getting enough freshmen for each academic year.
I never have a problem filling my bed.
Yeah, I should have known
With
that
poop.
this was going But, then you've got other schools that have trouble filling their freshman year classes, and I'm just looking at this like, how do you get a full complement of freshmen in Starfleet? You got a huge fleet. You need a lot of officers. How are you filling those roles?
But then again, there's also... The Federation is enormous.
No, I
mean,
know.
I was wondering, so they're taking this entrance exam. They got 4 kids in a room, and they say, out of you 4 kids, we only have 1 place. Why? Why is there only 1 place that they can take only
it
one
was
fucking
special
kid?
and they were all young, right? Maybe they don't want to deal with that many minors on campus.
Well, yeah, that
Well,
was-
but if they're
but-
exceptional people...
Was this some sort of like
That's
early...
true.
Was it like an early acceptance thing?
That was my understanding.
Maybe.
But concerning the exams, though, it doesn't seem to be important that you get a certain score so much as that you get the top score. So if we assume that, and it's a big assumption, but let's assume that the top quarter of performers get in, because that's what happened here, right? I mean, I'm basing it on what I've got. So maybe, perhaps, people that take the entrance exam, the top 25 percentile get in, and the rest don't. And that's how. Because apparently the only reason that Wesley didn't get in is because he took 4 femtoseconds longer than...
He also wet himself during his psych exam.
Well, that's true.
I mean, there could also be...
Did he actually?
We don't know.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Oh, I was like, fuck, did I miss a key plot device wherein Wesley pissed his pants? But I would guess that it's like a scale or a curve.
They took points off for the sweater.
It could have also been some form of affirmative action too. If like
I feel like Chris made that joke when we were watching the show.
if they wanted, if benzite is
Yeah,
something
Mordock.
that they
Mordock was supposed to
wanted-
be a big fucking deal,
The
too.
first Benzite in Starfleet.
He also came up with the Mordock strategy, which I think got cut from the episode, but I was reading about it. When Wesley meets him, he's like, oh my god, you're the Mordock. He
Yeah.
came up with the Mordock strategy, and in the episode, it doesn't say what the fuck it was.
Chess move
But
or
apparently, it
something?
was a move in Benzite chess.
But yeah, but I just suspect that it's like the kind of thing where you get points based on the work you've done. Like, they can't expect you to know every fucking thing. Why would you go to Academy?
That was the thing I found objectionable about the exam, is like, it seemed like they were testing them on literally all aspects of serving on a starship.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Only Wesley has been on a starship.
yeah, and it's just like, I don't expect the guy who's enlisting in Starfleet to maybe be a navigator to know how to fucking
unzip a fly.
like I don't need them to prove they also know theoretical physics, you know?
Right. Well, the other thing too, this just reaffirms some of the reasons I dislike the J.J. Abrams Star Trek movie, because in that movie,
No, just anybody. Can
it's just like, and there's also, because here's something that it still hasn't really been established, other than the fact that we know that there's like crewmen that aren't necessarily officers.
Yeah.
That Starfleet has an officer class, and they have a enlisted class, and we learn more about that later. But it does, So if you think of Starfleet Academy as being like West Point, it's like it's an elite school for gifted people that will graduate and become officers on starships.
Yeah.
So you can kind of see, okay, yeah, there would be exclusivity there. There would be high requirements.
Except, I feel like with the original series, you got way more of a sense that, yeah, there were a lot more enlisted staff.
Oh, yeah, like the yeoman and...
But it feels like over the years, and I may just be misremembering because I haven't seen a lot of the newer series recently, but like they de-emphasize that more and more and more until sometimes it feels like the only enlisted person in Starfleet is Chief O'Brien. Like, it feels like 9 out of 10 people you see did go through the academy. Yeah. And most of the people you see do have pips.
It's true.
I did notice in Heart of Glory, there was at least one security guy that had no pips.
Well, even in TNG, O'Brien even has pips.
That's true. They only give him his special thing later.
Yeah, it's not like if sometime in the middle of DS9, I think that they change his thing.
Yeah.
But at any rate, I think... so if you approach it from that perspective, yeah, okay, it makes sense that there would be a high requirement. I still think the test in this is ridiculous.
No, it's insane.
But I cannot fathom that, Kirk gets into a bar fight and Captain Pike shows up and is like, "You're in, sonny."
Well, that's the thing, though, is the impression you get is Captain Pike has a lot of clout.
He must.
And he's able to just kind of go, like hon, you were saying with legacies. It's not exactly a legacy, but if your biggest swinginest dick captain says, "This kid's in the academy," you just go, "Oh, fine." Well, everybody gets one.
But plus George Kirk.
Yeah.
So.
But what about the big galoot that he got into the fight with?
Cupcake?
Yeah, Cupcake. Like, that guy took this test? Like, is that what I'm to understand?
And
what was his greatest fear? Reading?
He was... he was Academy, too, because he was there with all the... Yeah.
He was...
Sorry, that was TOS era
good.
where the test was different. It was all the Kobayashi Maru. This is TNG.
Well, no, Kobayashi Maru, that's the thing. In Star Trek 2, Kobayashi Maru is like the final exam. That's not the entrance exam. That's true. We're about to commission you as an officer. Here's your last test.
That's true.
So, like, that's the thing. Like,
I don't know. I have a feeling that the exam between TOS and TNG has evolved.
Yeah, I'm sure it has,
it must
not
have,
to that extent.
Because, like Chris was saying, after 100 years, everybody knows what the Kobayashi Maru is.
Yeah, and the philosophy has changed since too. It's not go down to the planet and punch somebody. It's go to the planet and use diplomacy.
Did Chekhov do this test?
Watch it.
You know what? You know what? He had the undoing a bra psych exam.
Yeah.
No, he didn't. That man got so much pussy in that fucking show. He was macking on every fucking person.
So
he could unclasp bras with his mind.
He got more pussy in 2 series than I think Kirk ever did. I really think so. I feel like Chekhov was always chasing tail.
He had that Davy Jones hair, so what can you do?
But
and that sexy accent, so exotic.
So the psych exam too. I had a problem with Wesley's psych exam. In that, I mean, first of all, correct me if I'm wrong.
You're wrong.
But I think this is the first mention we get of the whole, like, Jack Crusher died because Picard made a choice thing, right?
I think it might be, yeah.
Like, it was too Bev, I think, more.
Well, I was going to say, like, because sort of Remick sort of said something to her about it, and then...
And that's what I mean. I feel like that was shoehorned in so that they'd have that established. It's like, guys, if you knew this was coming, why wasn't this maybe dropped earlier and not 5 seconds before it's necessary?
And why didn't you bake a cake?
But also, my issue was the way they set up the test wasn't very good. because there wasn't really a choice, you know? Because for him, it's like, okay, there's an injured guy, and there's a guy who's freaking out. The natural move I think anyone would make is grab the injured guy and just try to talk down.
No, not necessarily,
I feel
because...
Like, I was telling this to Caitlin, or I was talking about this earlier today. The idea is you made a choice, period.
Yeah.
Anyone could go in that room and be like, I could drag Galoot out from under the armpits whilst trying to get the other guy out. Or I could stand here and just talk at them until we're all dead.
I think that was what the test, the proctor, the guy, was trying to say, too. It's like, there is no wrong answer.
You're right.
It's really about, we're evaluating how you responded to the situation.
Yeah, I just feel like it would have been more effective for me as a viewer, at least. It's just if there seemed to actually be a real sort of like... Because to me, it would be obvious. Yeah, grab the guy who's injured and try to talk down freaky guy, because he should be able to... And surely he'll come to his senses, because that's what I would think.
Let me remind you, you know this story. You guys probably don't know this story. So when I was like 15 years old, myself and my parents... their two friends and their two kids, the friends' two kids, we all went for a hike in New Hampshire. Can you imagine me hiking? I'm sure I was dragged, kicking and screaming. So we're at this thing, and there's waterfalls and a river and all this shit. Okay? The little girl, who's like, she's a few years younger than me. She's probably 6 years younger than me or something like this. So she's like 9 or 10. She falls. And where she lands, thank God, is there's a place where there's water coming down the mountain, and there's like a deep place in where water has like gathered and then spills over, right? Like a fountain reservoir. She thankfully falls in there, because if she had fallen anywhere else, she would have broken legs. 3 adults and 1 child sat and watched while myself and her father at the same time hit the deck and put arms down and pulled her out.
Well, yeah, some people just can't
People
deal with
can't
that.
do it. Some people find panic and can't. My point is that not everybody is wired to make a choice in those situations. Some people do the deer in headlights, some people go fight or flight. And to go in the another direction too, someone wired a certain way might think, well, this guy's legs are fucked and he's fucked. I need to save this able-bodied one because usefulness or something.
Yeah, but it's the future. You give him a pill, he regrows his bones.
I guess that's true.
Also,
I
like,
never cured my bonitis.
they also set it up stupidly. They told him that the psych test is coming. So
Yeah.
if I was running that show over there, I would have been like, okay, your psych test is scheduled for tomorrow afternoon, 5 p.m. Be in the room, be in the chair at 5 p.m. tomorrow, and then at 2 a.m. set off the fucking alarm.
And they already told that he already learned from the web-fingered guy that he had to yell at that the test can be anything.
Yeah.
The test is not confined to the fucking room.
Yeah.
And I don't see how Melbar won.
Well, you didn't see any of his parts of the test.
Well, we saw that he was obviously not as good at the putting balls in the cube game.
But he finished faster because of Wesley's help.
If anything, that's a point for Wesley, I would say. Like,
Well, they took it into consideration and said Wesley still fucking sucked.
I don't think they did. I actually think, honestly, that Wesley should have been disqualified for that, because that's cheating, in my opinion.
Well, then they both should have been disqualified.
Well,
and the Vulcan girl should have gotten it.
But Wesley's the one who started talking. What's his name wasn't like, tell me how to finish
but
this.
also, that's another thing.
Wesley turned around, looked at his paper, and was like, you're getting that part right.
But see, here's the thing. That's the difference between how schooling, how like higher education works, and how people in the real fucking world work.
Yeah.
Because in the real world, if you're stuck on a problem, someone should be helping you. Or
Yeah.
if
I
you
don't
see
know.
somebody that's stuck on a problem,
if you're stuck on a shuttlecraft by yourself, like other than our fucking new friend Jake, who got himself stuck on a shuttlecraft
you
by
call
himself.
Captain Picard.
Yeah, but if he were too far away, he couldn't call Picard. He would have fucking died.
Well, yeah, you should. Yeah, there's obviously situations where you have to be self-reliant, but I don't think it's remotely a negative quality in a Starfleet officer to be compassionate and helping somebody.
Yeah,
No,
it
it's
feels
not.
like a very military organization thing to do.
Yeah.
I agree, but I think in that particular portion, the important part was finishing it.
Well, here's the thing, though.
You know what I mean?
I think here's my perspective on this test.
Hit me with it.
I would say because all of these they've already all tested in. That's established because Jakey Boy did not make it.
Yeah.
Even the fucking woman did.
So these people have already so presumably the test to take this test was like a sit-down exam.
It was like SAT.
Yeah, it was like it was some sort of thing. So they've already tested into that. They've already demonstrated that they have superior knowledge.
Yeah.
So
Test-taking
I
abilities.
think that this test is mostly the whole test is a personality test in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Because if you look, the situations we see are the cube game.
Mm-hmm.
We also see the webbed hand man.
Yep.
And the sight test.
Webbed hand man being the guy he had to yell at.
Yeah, the guy had to yell at.
Because they take... Yeah. What
Right,
was it?
so-
they took courtesy as an insult?
Yeah,
Something?
just dumb.
Yeah.
Because honestly, there's no place for that in Starfleet. Bullshit.
Well, maybe they hired him. He's an actor.
Maybe.
But they paid him really poorly because otherwise
Yeah.
it would have been insulting.
Yeah.
I did like the two actors they had in the psych exam and how they just kind of walk out and they're done like, well, we totally got you, kid. So long.
Great scene. Yeah.
But so I would say that like my impression of this test is that it was largely a personality test to see how you would deal with being in these situations, and that's probably if you're you proctor students, so would you ever have it? Would there ever be a situation where there's a graded exam and the proctor walks in and says, "Okay, the exam started. You're all sitting here," and then the examiner walks out and goes away?
No.
Right. So if it's actually a graded exam and you want to make sure people aren't cheating, you'd stay in the room and watch what's happening. But in this case, the guy just walks out. So I think part of that, they're expecting them to help each other.
I
think
mean,
maybe that's what
But
they're
it's also
looking
They
the
probably have
future.
cameras.
There's probably cameras and stuff.
But
Yeah.
they
I don't
are...
disagree with your thesis, though.
Well, and the students are working under the assumption they're not being monitored. Because Vape Guy does say, like, no, Wesley helped me, and Tester's like, we know. And they're all like, oh.
How would they... Okay, but how fucking stupid do you have to be to not know? You live in the fucking future.
Well, they also, remember now, they don't have cameras in Star Trek. There's no way to see what was going on in that room unless they had a blind person with a visor and a special accoutrement in there.
Yeah, I was making fun of that, too.
Wait, what?
Are you jumping ahead?
No,
to part
yeah,
four?
I'm
Yeah,
making
in the next
I'm making a
episode,
reference to the next
Geordi's
episode.
stupid visor
I remember,
camera.
but what do you mean? What do you mean they have no cameras?
Because we'll talk about this when we get to it, but because I just thought it was so stupid how they're like, oh, we can finally see what's going on the away mission now that we have this special camera attachment for Geordi's visor.
Oh,
when they could have just had a fucking camera.
Oh,
a GoPro.
I thought that he was able to see something special with it.
fly a
I didn't
drone.
realize
Yeah,
it was
they did-
literally
they did
just a
that too,
camera.
but-
They should
like-
fly a drone in there.
Yeah, or again, just give them all body cams.
But regardless.
Yeah, we'll get to that with the
fine.
next episode.
Anyway, I think Mordok got extra points for his makeup. His makeup was really good.
Yeah, he did have good makeup.
It was nominated for an Emmy for makeup.
Nice.
Really?
He looked good.
What-
And I
what-
liked that he had his little vape machine. Was never explained what it was.
It was a breathing. He had it for.
Yeah,
he needed
like
it for the breathings.
Yeah, but they didn't specify.
No, they let
They
the
didn't
aud-
make a point of
they
it.
just made it clear.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was
was
Sorry,
good.
I wasn't
with
trying
the acting
to.
instead of the exposition.
Yes.
Yes, it was a great example of, showing, not telling.
Yeah, they did
I
a nice
liked
job.
it. I quite liked
Yeah, it was a
that.
cool little
He looked damn
touch.
good.
Although one thing I didn't like was that the tubes leading up to it were bright red and yellow. So to me, it was like, is he breathing in vaporized ketchup and mustard?
Yes.
Fair enough.
He comes from the hot dog planet.
I want to go to that.
That's what hot dogs are made out of.
Yep.
When his people die, they're ground up.
It's
they
not
are
far from the truth.
They are empty shells. Make them into hot dogs.
Probably better than what hot dogs are really made of. TBH.
But yeah, and that could also so the girl who sucked,
Oleana or some shit.
right?
Something like that.
Oleana.
She wasn't.
Isn't
good
that
at the
like
test.
a fucking? Isn't that like a margarine spread?
That's Oleo.
Whatever. Same.
And then
thing.
there's Olestra, which was that like
the
diet stuff that
oil
made you
that
poop.
gave you poop.
yeah.
Ugh.
Well, it didn't really make you poop so much as it made liquid fat run out your asshole, but it's not really the same.
Nice.
Yikes.
Oh, God. So one thing that minorly annoyed me, and by minorly I mean it annoyed me enough that I noticed it.
Wesley shitting himself.
It does involve Wesley.
He usually does.
Whoever was in charge of costumes fucked up this episode.
Really?
He never had his comm badge on.
I noticed that even at the end when he was on the bridge.
Like, I get when he's off doing the test, he shouldn't have it. But once he's back
it's like
on the
turning
ship...
your cell phone off.
Yeah, once he's back on the ship and back on duty, because at the end he's at his duty station, he doesn't have his badge. And I was like, where the fuck's his badge? Who the fuck let this through?
Assholes.
I was slightly annoyed.
That was the only thing you had wrong with Wesley? Mm-hmm.
That's a good point.
And here's the thing, it's like, one of you said it when we started this, like, seeing Wesley actually, like, Ames said it apparently, thank you, Caitlin.
Doing Wesley appropriate
among peers, like, the fact that there were apparently
peers who are also all at least 10 years older than him.
Yes. But, like, the fact the Enterprise is apparently lousy with people who are kind of wannabe fleeters, who are apparently reporting to Riker, and it's like, why wasn't I shown any of this before?
Wait, what are you talking about? Those 4 were all from the Enterprise?
No, but the implication of Jake there was that there were other Enterprise children who were aspiring Starfleet candidates. They all apparently report to Riker. He, like, helps train them. So, like, why have I not seen Wesley with his peers more instead of being really aggravating with adults?
He was in the room with Thirsty Girl for like 8 seconds, and she had figured out, like, wow, if you weren't cute, you would be obnoxious. Probably because no one can stand him, because he's annoying.
Right, but I mean...
Though, also, I like how he was like, oh my god, she said I'm cute. It's like, no,
Did you hear the other half of the sentence?
She said you're fucking annoying, is what she said.
But this, like, I feel like if the writers had put him with his peer group more often, maybe he would have been less annoying.
I don't know. Then you get something like the one with the other children who are all kidnapped by that planet.
Well,
that was awful.
Yeah, well, they were all actual children was a huge part of the problem, and children that young can rarely act.
Actually, I thought the artist boy who made the dolphin was actually pretty good.
He was inoffensive enough.
Well, I mean, for a kid.
We cover that episode.
I just don't.
But it just does feel like a lot of stuff just sort of came out of nowhere for the sake of the story in this one, including other Starfleet aspirants on the Enterprise.
It felt like the Hunger Games to me for some reason.
A little bit,
It was a little Hunger Gamesy.
Bringing up now...
They should have just taken a sword to Wesley.
Yeah, or just let that Jake kid eat it. But there was a whole thing with other aspirants that we didn't know about before, choosing now to unleash, P.S. Picard let Jack Crusher die. Like, that should have been seeded way earlier.
Well, do we know anything about the production order? Like,
I don't know.
Oh, that's fine. It's probably fine.
But, I feel like we flogged the Academy quite thoroughly. What about the other half?
The other half is what I was predominantly bored by, because it felt like nothing.
Yeah, the thing with the Remick side plot there, you're right, it doesn't really feel like much.
Yeah,
but
it feels like we're being teased, and we never get anything.
No.
Okay, what do we get?
We get another episode later that closes the book on Remick.
I don't want to wait until a questionable later episode.
You're gonna hate DS9, Jesus.
Well, no, the DS9 we understand is a serial type show. This is an episodic show, which for all you know, this is the last you see of this character.
Yeah.
The last you hear of this plot line, the last you hear of this conspiracy that's going through the fucking Starfleet that may or may not even exist.
There's an episode later this season literally called Conspiracy.
Yes, but you don't know it at the time. We're on episode
this is
19.
hindsight 2020 kind of thing.
Like, you're saying this because you know the rest of the series.
Yeah,
I don't know the rest of the series.
I don't think.
Yeah, and stop spoiling it for us.
I don't think we should be. I'm not spoiling it. I'm just saying we see him again.
I made a comment saying, like, do we ever hear of this conspiracy again? Because it feels like a fucking throwaway.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we'll talk a lot more about this when we actually get to conspiracy. But I don't. So that's something that they start experimenting with in TNG, which is dropping hints toward broader storylines, some of which turn out to be cool and some of which don't.
Do some of them end up not leading anywhere at all? Is this basically Lost again?
No, I mean, yeah, we'll talk about it when we get to conspiracy. But I think that
you're struggling and not trying to spoil it, but also trying to spoil it.
Well, no, I'm just saying that I think it's okay that they do something like this. I don't think it was... Yeah, it was boring, but at the same time, it's kind of like, who the fuck is this asshole?
Yeah.
And it's interesting because up until the end, I liked the scenes where he was interrogating the crew because, he's bringing up things that
we've seen happen.
I know. I was actually surprised about that because we almost never heard things that happened before in TOS.
And I also really liked that he was like, "Oh, Prime Directive," and I was like, "Holy shit! Someone in Star Trek gives a fuck about Prime Directive?"
Well, yeah, I mean, he's for a while there. He almost is like an audience surrogate when he's like, because we'll sit here all day long and be like, "Oh, I can't believe Picard did that," or "Jesus." Prime Directive
This guy can't believe it either.
Yeah. And then Troy will be like, "But he was under the power of a weird alien substance thing."
Yeah, that was the only time we saw her. Thank God.
It's like,
bye,
but like from an outsider perspective, the captain of the most powerful ship in Starfleet was 100% compromised by an alien force.
Yeah.
That's pretty dangerous.
Although some of his lines of questioning did seem a little like, there's no winning. Because the whole thing bringing up Kaczynski, like, oh, the bridge crew wasn't terribly happy and this and that, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, meanwhile, if he had taken their advice and been like, you know what, Kaczynski, fuck you. His line of questioning would have been, well, Starfleet sent this guy. Why did he disobey central engineering? Like, it just felt like there's no winning with that line of questioning.
Yeah, but
some of the other lines of questioning are legitimate, though.
But then again, ultimately he comes back and says, no, Captain Picard did the right thing in all these situations.
Yes, he does.
So he was trying, he was, it was written so that he would be a little toady prick.
No, I know.
But also, if you take the credulous view, then his job is to probe and get under people's skin and try to get someone to slip up and admit some kind of fault.
Yeah. I guess overall I found it like, for me, again, like you, I kind of know where they're going with this. But even divorced from that, it's just sort of like, I know we discussed this before with regards to, TOS, and we'll bring it up again in regards to everything, but just there's always that issue with a franchise of artificial tension. And this idea of, like, at the end of the day, we're sitting here, we know they're not gonna fucking strip Picard of his command.
Yeah, nothing's happening to Picard.
But you can still set it up in a way where you feel like you can suspend your disbelief enough to be like, again, not so much, oh, will they get out of it, but how? How are they going to tie this up? Will it be a satisfactory resolution? Will it not feel like a cop-out? Will it not just feel like...
It's the Columbo approach.
Yeah. Will it not just feel like they're going to get out of this because they have to, because they're the main characters? And I feel like this didn't necessarily set that up. It was like, you just knew, like, yeah, this guy's going to be a pain in the ass, but at the end of the day, it's all going to be fine.
Wait. You didn't expect them to give Picard mental powers in a wheelchair so he can go to the academy?
I see what you did there.
Hey.
That's good.
Oh.
Maybe Melbar had some sort of superpower, and that's why he got accepted.
That's
Yeah.
Mordok.
I know, but I'm calling him Melbar.
Oh, okay. You're you. That's right.
That,
Like Carnitas the other week.
There was a good moment, though, to your point, that, like, he did sort of let his veneer slip, Remick, where when Picard manages to keep Jake from murdering himself, and he's like, yeah! This little...
Yeah, and then Remick's like, I would want to serve here, and everyone's like, no, we actually all hate you.
Yeah, we hate you so much.
We actually hate you so much.
Yeah. That's something the writers get good at, too, in the shows, making loathsome characters.
I mean, TOS was good at that. They were really good at just hateable Federation bureaucrats. They had that asshole in Tribbles. They had that asshole with the sleeve capes. Like, they were just really good at having people swing their dicks around and you immediately hating them. That's a good Star Trek, goes far back, annoying Star Trek bureaucrats where you're just like, oh my god, I cannot wait till you're shown up.
Yep.
But yeah, overall, like, I think technically that was the A plot, but it felt like the B plot compared to the Academy thing.
I assumed the Academy thing was the A plot because the B, like the plot with Remick and with Quinn figuring out, is something wrong? Oh wait, we know there's nothing wrong, but is something actually wrong
and it is
elsewhere?
Coming of age. But yeah, I don't know.
It's shrouded, but there's like enough left to be answered in apparently future episodes.
See, here's
That the Academy piece does feel like it has to be the A plot,
Yeah,
because
see,
it's
the
the only
Academy
one that
piece-
actually is resolved.
Yeah, the Academy
Yeah.
piece also has an arc. It's
Yeah.
got tension. It's got a resolution. It's got something to figure out. It's got a plot.
Yeah.
Whilst the Academy or the
Investigation.
investigation with Remick is literally just going through and questioning everybody.
And there's the
And it just
event
feels like
with the shuttle.
it's just on level ground,
Yeah.
and then it ends.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Well, the
That's
shuttle-
why I was a little. Like, it never felt like there was enough at stake.
Yeah.
Because you're wondering, like, is there actually, like, someone on, or, like, a problem on the Enterprise? And then you feel like, oh, there wasn't. There wasn't at all. Okay. So there was never actually any problem.
I will say, though, I was definitely, completely, 1,000% on Remick's side when he was like, why can a teenager get into the shuttle bay?
Yeah. They
Also-
still don't have security in the shuttle.
And not just that,
ooh.
How many times do I have to tell you to put locks on the doors?
How is it that he was able to fly the shuttle bay out and then get out of
Tractor beam range that quickly?
range before? Like, it's like someone's stealing a shuttle. Tractor beam, please.
Like, there should just
Yeah.
be...
Like, you don't wait.
Yeah, no, you shouldn't even, like, the protocol should just be you don't even have to wait for an order from the captain. If there is an unauthorized launch, literally anyone is allowed to go, boop, tractor beam. But I'll also have security quibbles in the next episode.
Yeah, the security situation on Starfleet vessels.
Does it ever get
not
better? I can't
improved.
remember. Because it's driving me crazy.
It's better when it's convenient for the plot.
Yes.
Really, is what the story is there.
Oh,
They
it's
needed Jake
maddening.
to escape so that Picard could
Picard it up.
Picard it up.
So that almost felt like a C plot.
Well, it was the bridge. It was bridging. It was bridging the Academy entrance exam and the Remick, right?
Yeah.
that's true. That was actually also the only actually tense moment, because I kind of didn't expect that they would let this kid burn up. But that was the only thing that ever really concerned me in this episode was, like, is that kid actually going to bite it?
Yeah.
Because, like you said, obviously nothing's going to happen to Captain Picard at all.
Nope.
And obviously, like, the psych test was obvious for me as a viewer that this was the psych
I felt
test,
worse
not an
for
actual thing.
Murdoch when he came out and looked distraught. I was like,
Yeah.
oh man, what did he go through? Is he okay?
Yeah, dude, somebody fucked him up.
You know what it
Oh my
is?
God.
They swapped out his preferred vape. It's like, this isn't spearmint. This isn't spearmint!
Murdoch's his greatest fear was taking the cube and ball test without Wesley sitting next to him.
Sounds right.
Right.
But I actually liked the episode. It was
I
tedious in some ways,
yeah.
but I even kind of liked the interrogations, because I was just kind of like, wow, this guy is such a douche. I hate him. I love
I
him.
will say the way that scene was shot was
I was gonna say
good. I enjoyed that.
where they would cut back to Remick.
That was
and then
good.
he was
That
That
talking
was
looked
to
really
somebody
nice.
That
I
was
love
well
how
done.
Data showed him up too.
Yeah.
I also liked Worf when Remick is like, "You don't like me very much," and Worf's like, "Is it required?"
Yes.
I
Tell
also
him,
liked
Worf.
that.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was a good episode. I liked it fine. It's
I mean,
not the
I
best,
didn't-
it's not the worst.
I didn't hate it, but it was just kind of like, it's fine. It's next.
We learned some stuff. Done.
Was Tasha in this episode? I
No.
don't think she was.
No, she was very
Was
briefly.
she?
She was. No, wait.
They
No,
didn't,
that's-
I know
that's
they,
Troy.
I know
That's
they
the
didn't
next
question
episode.
her.
Yeah,
They didn't?
question her.
They did
and
not
also, I
question her.
figure like when the kid stole the shuttlecraft,
That's true.
She would have been involved. Or
Yeah.
should have been involved.
No, maybe she wasn't then.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't
for a
think
minute
so.
I was going to say she's the one that was saying like he was being mind controlled, but that was Troy.
Yeah.
How about the next episode?
Yeah, you said you had security tribbles.
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 Quibbles.
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 Quibbles and tribbles with
Now-
Garden Glory.
Okay.
Quibbles.
Okay, again, this is jumping towards the end, but for Christ's pissing sake, they escort these fugitives to, as they put it, security, not the brig, right? Right?
Well, I think it was the bridge.
I
It
thought
was,
it
but
was
the line was
Tasha
take them
called
to-
it security,
Yeah, take them
yeah.
to security. Was like, who wrote that? And they put them in the room, and they've got the usual sparkly force field, but it looks like they've also got a physical door just in case. Why wasn't that physical door immediately closed?
Maybe they can't both work at the same time.
What? What is this, Five Nights at Freddy's?
Because here's the thing.
If you can pat your head and rub your stomach.
They didn't want to have to damage the hallway set.
I know.
By putting just the force.
That's not even my major complaint. I have a lot of... There's that. There's the fact that, like, at no point were these, frankly, even before the stock footage from the motion picture shows up and is like, these guys are bad. You should have done some quick security checks and scans. I mean, Tasha Yar was scanning hotel rooms for listening devices in an earlier episode. No one scanned these guys and figured out they are wearing a disassembled disruptor between the two of them.
Yeah, or like, wouldn't it have been disabled during transport?
Well, I think they have to order that, don't they? And has that been done yet in the show, or is that later?
I don't know.
Eventually, it's established that they can beam people up, and in the process of beaming them up, disable their weapons if they're carrying them.
Didn't they do that on
But this is a disassembled weapon. Is that disableable?
Who knows?
Disruptor.
We don't know how they if they just drain an energy pack. In theory, one of those parts was anyway. My real big issue, though, the thing that makes me want to slam my head into a wall.
How did they each fit half a disruptor up their ass?
Not that. That's obvious.
That's
Klingons have cavernous tuchuses.
Okay.
The minute. Okay. Well, first of all, engineering should just be locked as a rule. But since this is the happy-dippy fucking future, and we don't lock sensitive parts of our ships, at the very least, when there is an acknowledged breakout, all sensitive areas of the ship, including engineering, should be locked.
Absolutely.
So some random asshole with a disruptor can't storm in and point his gun at the incredibly explosive engines.
Well, are you telling... Go ahead.
Oh, no. You first.
Are you sure?
I am sure.
You gonna tell me that Red Alert jettisons Finney, but it doesn't fucking shut some doors?
Right!
That's all.
I mean, I don't know if they went to Red Alert, but even so.
You gonna tell me that you got two fucking Klingons running amok on your ship and you don't got a fucking Red Alert? Alright, fine.
Get rid of Finney, quickly!
Get him out! Okay, fine. Sorry.
I am sure this will come up in the future, but we really should talk about how the incredibly explosive engines are just hanging out and
wide fucking open.
Fucking some dopey engineer has my anti-grav went crazy. Oh shit!
Well, and apparently, as we discover this episode, the glass walkways around the incredibly explosive engine are incredibly fragile.
Yeah, why are they made out of glass? Why aren't they made out of transparent aluminum?
Or just plexiglass, or literally anything.
The floor.
Yeah.
It can just be a floor, guys. You're
Like,
good
what
at floors.
The fuck? What the actual fuck?
That's another thing that we're also going to find is that in Star Trek, when it's convenient to have a shattered glass window, the windows are glass.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're transparent aluminum or force field.
Yeah, it's like,
It was pretty magnificent, though. It was a good break.
Yeah,
it was great, but it's just like, why?
You could have flipped him over a railing and you would have had the fall. It would have looked great. The railings are always
They could have added a Wilhelm scream.
Commander Reed would be livid with the state Starfleet is in. That's all I'm saying. He's the very uptight security chief in Enterprise.
Oh, sure.
Who I agree with.
As long as he has cape sleeves.
No, he's a member of the crew, so he has a normal jumpsuit.
Needs the sleeve cape.
He is British, if that helps.
No, it does not.
It would help me.
But yeah, no, I agree with you. I also find it interesting. So Worf kind of gets off the hook a little bit here by because he doesn't let the Klingons hold the little girl hostage.
Yes.
So good on him there. But also...
Klingons don't take hostages.
That's true.
Except
They
for
should've
Krug. Krug loved taking hostages.
That's true. So actually, that's a good point. I'll get to that in a second. But I was also going to mention how Worf, right? The Klingons tell him, they say, Worf, paraphrasing here, Worf, we're Klingon separatists, and we took over that thing, that freighter.
The Bactress.
And, in short, they say, we're not who we say we are, we're actually criminals. Hey, would you mind taking us on a tour of your ship? And Worf's like, yeah, sure, let's go to engineering.
Battle bridge?
Yeah, let's go to engineering and the battle bridge.
Let me tell you about saucer separation, guys. And without the saucer, this is a commendable weapon.
Oh no, they already knew about it though, because apparently Starfleet just publishes their blueprints onto the space internet.
Well, I'm sure, Klingon...
It's public domain.
I found it interesting that when they talk to the Klingon envoy or whatever, that he had both a Federation
I was going to bring it up
and
Yeah.
a Klingon. I think that might be the only time that happens.
Yeah, I feel like at this point in the series, their idea of the peace with the Klingons was that maybe there was a really close alliance.
Yeah.
Whereas eventually it becomes more like, no, we stopped shooting each other, but we still kind of don't entirely trust each other.
So I also found it interesting. So I actually really liked this episode, well, for a couple reasons. So chronologically, in terms of production order, these are, I believe, other than Worf, I believe these are the first Klingons we get after Krug.
We were trying to figure that out last night.
Yeah, because I think
Was this before or after 5? That was the one thing I was watering.
5 comes out later
Okay.
in the year, or possibly even right around the time this
3 had Claw, right?
3 had Krug.
3 was Krug?
Yeah. Claw was 5.
Claw was...
The only
Okay.
Klingon we got in 4 was the pissed off ambassador.
Right.
So, and I felt like, Krug sort of redefined what Klingons are about from what they were in the original series. And then the very next time we see Klingons is in TNG, and we have Worf, and the understanding is that there's a piece that exists. But it's never really shown to us what that piece is.
Yeah.
And the implication could be, I mean, I don't even know if it's stated up to this point that Worf is the only Klingon in Starfleet. I don't know.
I think it's the first time it's come up, yeah.
So-
Yeah. Oh, we did see that fictional Klingon lady that Riker with his god powers created. Does that help?
No.
Good.
Yeah, no, these are the first Klingons. So at this point, there's really no indication of what the status of that treaty is.
Yeah.
If are Klingons just regular members of Starfleet? Like, is there a Klingon all over the place?
Yeah, or is Worf a special case because of his upbringing?
Right, and
Yeah.
we also get a little insight into his upbringing here too.
Yeah.
We find out that his parents were killed and he was raised by humans.
I realized that's why in our first episode of TNG, when I thought for a second Worf was half human, half Klingon, that it was because he was raised by humans, and I was
Yeah.
thinking that.
Raised by Russians.
You know what I realized also? That of all the like main character aliens that we have met, like Spock or Worf or Troy or whoever, so many of them aren't like pure aliens. They're either half something or other, or they were raised by humans, or
Yeah.
they're very, very human aliens.
Well, because it's the outsider trope. It's the...
But they're not outsider enough then.
Well, they're outsiders amongst the humans, but they're also outsiders amongst their own people. So there's a lot of drama you can build there for the character.
I just want to interject. We have seen 2 characters who are fully other species. Eric's and Maress.
And you could argue Data too.
Data was created by humans.
He's also not an
he's
alien.
still,
He's a
still a
robot.
full. He's another.
He's
not,
full of the memories of 400 or
That's
however
true.
many
Oh,
humans.
God.
But he also has that outsider syndrome.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't get along with
So
the can opener.
That's a pretty common trope.
Nice reference.
Nice.
Oh, man. That was good. Fuck me.
But no, so anyway, the point I was trying to get to here is, so we don't really have a sense of what this treaty is all about.
Yeah.
And from what we know of Klingons, based on Krug and based on Kor and Koloth and all these other Klingons we've met, is that they're like these really warlike people. So the idea that they would just have turned docile and just kowtowed to the Federation is a little perplexing from what we know.
Yeah.
So having these Klingons there, I think even though I still don't think they were very Klingons yet, like they're not like the Klingons that we come to recognize as being Klingon. I do think that the idea of we're warriors and we're I can't the
God.
Federation has diluted our warrior blood and da 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 da. Do you have the heart of a Klingon?
Heart of glory.
In a way, though, I said this to Caitlin last night, there were some scenes, especially some of their big blustering, where I felt like, and this is what led us to discussing when the hell had this come out exactly, is there were moments where they felt very TOS Klingon. There was something about just how theatrical they were.
Smarmy.
They were smarmy, they were kind of theatrical, they
At
felt...
least they weren't quoting Shakespeare.
Well, he didn't happen yet. They were very poetic, though. There were moments where, especially when Worf was talking to
Chorus?
the guy, was that his name, Chorus?
Which guy?
The one from the stock footage.
The smug one?
Canera.
Oh, yeah.
Canera. Wow.
Canera was the captain of the battle
Does he make
cruiser.
nice soup? But like he goes on this whole sort of borderline poetic monologue about why they should be allowed to sort of just run and die on their feet like and blah blah blah. Like, wow, Klingon poetry must be very elegant.
Except it's in Klingon.
So, I mean, I would give this episode a lot of credit for establishing Klingons
Yeah.
that come. I mean, they continue to be developed, but I think when we think about Klingons, what we like, I think like it started with Krug,
Yeah.
and then this episode sort of further establishes that Klingon culture.
Wait, you liked the death ritual?
Yeah, I think.
Rah!
That's in Discovery.
Is
Actually,
it?
it's and it shows up more times. And interestingly, I something about to bring this back to Discovery. Spoiler alert for the pilot episode of Discovery. So if you've seen the first
I think we talked
actually
about
if you've
this
seen it's the second episode this happens. So spoiler
It
alert.
should have been one episode.
The first 2 episodes
for
of
the
Discovery.
second episode of Discovery. In Discovery, the Klingons under Takovma sanctify the deceased and cover, and
They put them on the
put them
hull
on
of the ship.
And in this episode, they are like, no, just toss them out an airlock.
It's an empty shell.
It's an empty shell. So how do you get from A to B? And in the second episode of Discovery, the way that the Shinzo, is that the name of the ship?
Shinjo.
Was able to escape was by strapping a bomb to a Klingon body so that when they tractored it into their ship to deal with it, to bury it or to attach it to the outside of the ship, it blew up and damaged the ship and they were able to escape. So perhaps time of Discovery, Klingons were very, religious Klingons anyway, were very much, we have to take care of these bodies. They're, the honored dead. And then it's like, oh, wait, our honored dead can be used as weapons against us.
Yeah.
They're just garbage.
It is hard to say because, like you said, Takovma clearly represents sort of a weird cult in a way. But at the same time, his religiosity or whatever, his treatment of the dead, doesn't come completely out of nowhere. Because one of the things that pops up in Spock's retraining of the mind in Star Trek IV is a Klingon mummification glyph. So there was precedent in all pre-existing material for both treating the bodies like shells and mummification in the Klingon culture.
Interesting.
So, yeah, take that, people who think they aren't paying attention to continuity and Discovery.
God,
I'm such a nerd.
Yes.
So it's interesting.
I will say, though, frustrations with still bad Enterprise security aside, I did enjoy the episode.
Yeah, me too.
I was surprised, speaking of security, that, if they're talking about there was a battle and blah, 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 where did the other ship go? Did they establish where the other ship
I presume
went?
it was destroyed?
Then why is there no debris, and why didn't they check for debris?
Maybe they had drifted away from where the debris was?
There should be lots of debris everywhere.
Yeah, you're right. I have no fucking clue. It's a good
They're
point.
idiots. They're fucking idiots.
Well-
Because then they could see, there either is no debris, because there should have been debris no matter what, because there was a fucking ship that the original Klingons were on.
Yeah.
So where the fuck is it that they could check to see, like, this isn't a Ferengi ship, this was a Klingon ship. What the fuck actually happened, guys?
Well, you could also say, well, maybe, so the freighter was damaged in the battle, evidently. So they may have been able to limp away from the site of the battle, and then finally it started shitting the bed.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, even a few minutes. I mean, we've complained about this before, but in reality, a few minutes at even warp 1 is an extraordinary distance.
This is true.
But, and here's another thing too, though, and someone already brought this up, but the situation here is literally the Kobayashi Maru.
It's a disabled ship calling
In
for
the
help
neutral
in the
zone.
neutral zone. And no one thinks to say, like, should we be more careful? This is familiar!
So clearly this answers our question that they have changed
Yeah.
the testing requirements at the Academy. The Kobayashi Maru is no longer in place because clearly no one on the Enterprise has taken it.
They literally just walked right into it. It was astounding. I sort of loved it, even though I hated it. Speaking of, not hating it, but another mild annoyance. And this, but again, genuinely, I did mostly enjoy. Another annoying little sort of continuity thing. Romulans. There's a name we've not heard in a while. You mentioned them in Angel 1.
Yeah.
Like they were the
This
hugest
just came
deal a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, but they didn't go out there, so forget about it. They
I
don't
know.
have to deal with
Well,
it.
maybe it was also
Well, we do know in the original script, as you pointed out, Ames, it had been the Ferengi in Angel 1.
Oh, that's true. And also, like, I don't know how much double checking between episodes they were doing, except in Coming of Age, where they referenced a lot of other episodes.
Yeah.
That was weird.
Yeah, I also thought it was, how dumb are the people in the Enterprise? Well, the damage on the freighter looked like Klingon weapons. Yeah, but it was a Ferengi ship with Klingon weapons. That's what it was that attacked us.
Yep.
Oh my god, you're right. It sounds like such a stupid answer.
Yeah.
And no one questioned it. It was a little weird.
Yeah, very weird.
They're very trusting.
And even when they find Klingons on the ship, they're like, oh yeah, okay. Yeah. Sure,
oh, yes.
This is normal.
Geordi's.
Where was the rest of the crew? Just corpses?
Yeah, I assume they killed him.
I was gonna say they killed them, didn't they? Because
but nobody on the Enterprise was like. So the only 3 survivors are the Klingons,
and one of them is so injured that he's not even bleeding purple blood.
Yeah.
Well, again, they haven't established purple blood.
Oh,
that's true.
Not till 6,
so
right?
Weird. Yeah.
And then even after that, they kind of drop
they forget about it again.
So this is something I was saying earlier. It's only super tangentially related, but I'm saying it anyway because I think it's funny. Now, as of recording, 3 of us at this table have not seen the new Star Wars, but we all know what porgs are. And since...
Wookiee dicks.
Huh?
Wookiee dicks.
Yeah.
Confirmed.
And, at one point I got into my head Mr. Warg. So, like, I can't draw, but I would happily draw, like, a little porg, but in, like, a yellow Starfleet uniform with ridges. And then, of course, now you've got the death ritual, and we all know that porgs do their little scream.
I don't know that.
Kind of want to... It's in the trailers. I just want an image of 3 little Klingon porgs just screaming into the air, because I think that's adorable. So if anyone listening can draw, would you please? I'd be so happy. I would pay you.
I'd pay you not to.
Just ask your sister to do it.
Oh, yeah.
We have a bidding war for not or actually drawing the warg.
It's okay. Chris will just ask his sister. She'll do it.
She'll do it for no pay.
She will.
Anyway, I'm gonna change tactics here. Geordi's visual acuity transmitter.
Oh my god!
Oh,
yeah.
Go.
So that almost. I'm okay. We'll get.
Really, it's that I think the script was about 20 minutes too short, and they needed to fill it with something.
That whole it is. It's like a third of the episode is them. They're on the ship and they're having this long ass conversation about how the ship's about to blow up, but it's so cool.
We can finally see how Geordi sees.
What a bunch of ableist bullshit.
The way I put it, because just Picard was being so insensitive.
Yeah.
I was
Picard
just like...
doesn't have empathy.
No, it was
That's
just
why
like...
he needs Troy around.
At one point, I literally said to Caitlin, like, Jesus Christ, what... When Geordi beams back, is Picard going to say, "Can I touch your hair?" Like, fuck! I was so uncomfortable. It was that level of awful as far as I was concerned.
Also, there are people that are probably dying on the ship that you're trying to rescue.
Yeah.
Can we not talk about, how cool this new device is, Geordi? This is how you see.
You could have tested
Look
it
at
out
Data
on
some more.
You could have. Well, actually, that was something interesting. I don't know. It looked to me, and maybe I don't know if this is true, but it kind of looked to me like the shot of Data through Geordi's visor was not of Brent Spiner, but of his body double.
His photo double and Riker's photo doubles were used in that
I wasn't
scene.
100% sure about Riker, but I was looking
Which
I was like, that's the hair on the double who we've seen.
Which means Geordi has never seen the beauty of Data.
That's true. So I did think that.
No, he did in that 5 seconds. He had eyes in that one episode.
That's true. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
He always has eyes, Chris.
Um,
You fucking ableist
you're
piece
fair.
of shit.
When Riker gave him traditionally functional eyes.
but he
traditional
But if he did
functional.
see Data in that moment, then he should have known that Data doesn't have a halo.
And that's true. Although I suppose he was maybe just joking.
Maybe.
Just to fuck
But
with
yeah, okay,
Picard.
so good.
Data
I'm
has,
not
Data
crazy.
has a halo for me.
Yeah,
Whenever
that
I look at him, yeah.
I hope he's got a boner for me.
But yeah, it is one thing where I was just like, the one problem is this does really just make plain. It's like, why aren't body cams standard operating equipment for away teams?
Well, you could ask the same question about
Today.
You know.
No, I know, but
the
you know.
Popo?
Yeah.
Well, it's because of the union. Because the
Starfleet has a
the
good union.
Starfleet officers union, Starfleet's like, listen, after having so many Prime Directive violations, we're going to start equipping away parties with body cams, and the union threw a fit, and they're not doing it.
It's actually it's funny because there are, again, not to bring it back in Enterprise, but in some of the early episodes where they're doing away missions, Trip literally brings a camera, but like a tourist camera. It's kind of funny.
But yeah, you would think that there would be like, if not even just like body cams, but like it would be some kind of something built into their equipment.
Yeah.
Like in their flashlights or something.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I know in 1987, miniaturization of cameras was still, of a streaming digital camera, that was, years off. But nowadays, you could have a streaming digital camera that would fit into their comm badge.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
still have room for the communications equipment.
Yeah. Or just mount a camera. Like, why did it have to be the feed from Geordi's visor? Why couldn't it
just GoPro that shit?
Exactly.
And yes, that technology didn't exist in 87 or 88 when this was filmed. However,
neither does warp drive, transporters, subspace communications.
Yeah. And the difference between a body camera and those technologies is a body camera actually is something that you could be, I think, in 87, be like, yeah, I could see this coming around in the next
sooner than later
20 years, you know?
Yeah, it's not unbelievable.
Yeah.
And, their whole thing is like, oh, well, its transmission range isn't great because it's so much data because the visor has... what has less data? A normal fucking camera.
Yeah, and you can actually look at it and see what you're looking at.
And not be really, really awful to your blind crewman, Picard, you fucking dick.
Yeah, it was...
After all the progress Picard has been making, like, that scene was like, oh, this is early season Picard.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a blind man teaching an android how to paint.
Oh, God, that scene.
Woof.
Fucking Riker.
Yeah, they're again, there's another instance of this show for being as progressive as it is.
Fucking up sometimes.
Pulling a boner.
Psst.
Teach them to laugh at the Joker's boner.
Good shit. Oh, God, one thing I fucking loved, though.
Lack of Troy.
Yes, I loved that.
Was she not in this? I didn't even notice.
Lack of Wesley.
Also
he wasn't
good.
in this one, was he? They didn't use it in full, but they quoted Jerry Goldsmith's Klingon theme in this.
I noticed that, yeah.
Like, very subtly. They never used the full thing, but when they're Klingons, and they're... It's like, oh, shit, that's good.
Nice.
We hear it in the motion picture and Star Trek V and definitely First Contact. Eventually what happens is it becomes Worf's theme in the movies that Goldsmith... I think we did a sing-along of this once.
did.
We have.
But yeah, they use
You're
it...
channeling Dana Carvey, and I love it.
But yeah, they do it in 1, they do it in 5, and it shows up. Like, it definitely shows up in First Contact, which Jerry Goldsmith scores. He then also scores, I think, the last 2, but I can't remember if he uses it. But like in First Contact, it sort of goes from being the Klingon theme to being Worf's theme. But I appreciated that, because Goldsmith is an excellent composer, and it was nice to hear that little bit of music show up. I mean, they're using his theme, so why the hell not? But I loved that. That was a nice little thing.
What were they playing while they were constructing the phaser? Because there was definitely some unusual music that I actually started being like, this doesn't feel like Star Trek, but I'm bouncing to it now.
I actually didn't notice, to be honest.
There was some different music playing.
A newish theme, maybe composed just for this episode.
I did appreciate that the gun they assembled did look vaguely, like the silhouette was vaguely similar to like an old Klingon disruptor, though.
Yeah, but I did notice like the prop was really chintzy.
Oh, it was terrible.
Like when they moved it, like the barrel
wobbled a lot. Yeah.
Again, very TOS.
Oh. Yeah, and no one questions like, oh, so stealing the thing off of his shoe, that's the dead guy's shoe.
Well, no one saw it. That's why. No one was looking.
Oh, I noticed.
They were
Or
all
it could just be like, I like this thing on his shoe all the time.
It's a
No, it's
traditional
mine.
Klingon death ritual. You take the points off your buddy's shoe.
You scream and steal some crap.
Yep, just gut the corpse. Like,
Yeah.
I got his wallet, I got his belt.
I feel like the yells were a little silly.
The yells were
Especially
a
the
little silly.
solo yell. The solo yell was goofy. I liked the reason behind the yell.
I don't like the reason behind the yell. It's
Really?
to prepare the afterlife for a warrior that's coming. Fuck
Yeah,
you.
it's a warning.
It feels Klingon.
It feels
A
Klingon.
bit cocky.
Yeah, it's so cocky. It's so egotistical. It's
I
like,
like
I'm
it
so... It's not even you, though. It's your friends have to think of you to do this. So if you're like, I don't think Worf is that great a warrior, so...
Well, the other thing, too, is like...
Beware, Worf is
you
coming.
only get... Like, that seems to be only if there's time. Because when the first Klingon... No, I guess the second Klingon, technically, he didn't get the scream because they were in a rush. Like, it's not like they're stopping their battle mid-fight to do the yell.
Imagine, though, if they did do that. Like, when there were wars on Kronos, when, Klingons were just fighting each other.
Just constant.
Yeah. Whoa.
Hey,
Time out, everyone.
They didn't.
Back on.
They didn't do it for Gorkon in 6.
Well, I get the sense that Klingon culture has changed.
Yeah, like Data states that this is probably the first time humans or non-Klingons have heard this yell, and it's like, have we not? We've killed lots of Klingons in front of other Klingons.
But here's the thing, right? So Klingon. So keep in mind the time difference between where we are today.
That's true, and now they're our allies, and they maybe feel more comfortable with us.
It's not just that. It's what 90 years difference.
Something like
between that movie and today.
Some 80 or 90.
It's been a long time, needless to say. So there could have been an ebb in Klingon religious practices during Gorkon, because we know Gorkon was a reformer.
Yeah.
And was killed because of it.
Yeah.
So it could be that he was very liberal. He wasn't religious. He didn't promote religion, and maybe he wasn't a follower of the religion that other, Klingons we see now are.
Well, and these guys do seem to be the we want to go back to the good old days when you could use ethnic slurs in public and
yell when someone dies.
Make Kronos great again.
It's also
they called it Kling at one point.
They did, yeah. They did.
No.
But there is the difference of the situation with Gorkon is a bit different too, because it's, as far as they're concerned, they're in the midst of an assassination.
Yeah.
So that wasn't an ordinary death. That was, at that moment, a crime scene.
Yeah, and he also wasn't, he may not have been considered, according to Klingon ritual, he may not have been an honored dead.
That wasn't a warrior's death.
He didn't die a warrior. He died being shot.
Like a little bitch, frankly.
Yeah. Just floating in midair, helpless, like a
with
baby.
With McCoy on top of him. Yeah.
That's how I want to go.
Versus, these guys who died... in battle. But I don't know. I like that idea.
I like you, Caitlin.
I like you too, Ames.
I like the idea because it's a complaint that you hear a lot with Star Trek. With all the races are very one dimensional. But I kind of, in my head, I'm like, no, I like the idea that, we tend to see warrior Klingons. We see the really religious Klingons that are tied to their warrior religion. But that doesn't mean every Klingon is, Gorkon.
It's just confirmation bias.
We talked with Kanera on his ship. He seemed normal. He seemed like a good guy.
Yeah.
Sorry. Whoa.
Cold chill. And it's also interesting, and this goes back to Discovery, where we have T'Kuvma, who was obviously a hyper-religious guy and his followers, and then you had some of the other Klingon houses that we see, and we get the impression that, well, they're not...
They think he's a dip.
Yeah, and they're probably... If I was to make a comparison, I'd say that T'Kuvma was like the true believer. He's the true believer, but the other Klingon houses, which sort of glom onto his movement, they're
there for the cloak.
They're there for the cloak. They are the...
I think the
some of them did,
the religious right, politically speaking.
Yeah.
Like in the United States, you have these religious people that are really, they're fucking charlatans.
Yeah.
They don't believe it.
No.
I saw some YouTube video once with a guy that was like, it was these two religious guys, and they were talking about how, God spoke to me and told me that I needed to buy a bigger jet. Because if I had a bigger jet, I could spread his word further. And God comes and he tells me these things. He tells me, I was sitting on my little plane, and then he said, you need a bigger plane. So that's why I got the bigger plane. And it's like, I think you got the bigger plane because you wanted it, and you knew that you could bilk people out of money for your big fucking stupid plane. That's who I think the other Klingons in Discovery are.
Yeah.
So.
By the way, again, as of recording, we're actually in the mid-season break right now. I think this goes live after they've come back. So for all we know, the first episode when they've gotten back,
they may have gotten their bigger plane.
Completely disproves everything we just posited. Who knows?
We don't.
I hope not. Because I also enjoy that idea that there really is more to it than I think people are willing to give.
I think people want the Klingons to be one-dimensional because of what we've seen. But,
well, and it's like people want Vulcans to be one-dimensional, which is why so many were upset by the way they were presented in Enterprise. or
As cockbags.
yeah.
With
Yeah.
tits.
Oh yeah, we watched Carbon Creek the other day.
What?
Tits.
Oh, is that the like?
What about tits?
50s
There's
one?
some tits.
That's the one where they
some
go back
tits?
to where it's T'Pol telling a story.
Yeah.
And there's a scene where T'Pol's ancestor, played by Jolene
Blalock.
is changing. They're stealing clothes off a clothesline, as you do.
Oh, like very.
And she's changing, and and her shadow is well projected.
Yeah, she's on the other side of a sheet.
And you can see it all.
Jesus.
Everything.
The
I think I'm gonna like Enterprise a lot.
the sexing up in that show is so fucking
It
embarrassing.
sounds really.
Oh, I
really
mean,
upsetting.
I'm gonna hate it.
It's otherwise. I mean,
It's a love-hate situation.
otherwise I enjoy most of the show, but I do hate the overt, like pathetic, ham-fisted, childish, sophomoric sexuality.
Yeah. And like those were gratuitous titties in that episode.
It was.
Gratuities.
Gratuitous. But if listeners, if you are interested in seeing a shadow of some nice titties, Carbon Creek,
Gratuities.
Enterprise,
Fun
Star
episode
Trek.
from what I recall, aside from that.
It's all right.
It's goofy, but in a way I'm alright with.
Oh, Ames won't like it.
I liked it.
Oh.
I only paid attention to some of it because I was in the middle of running errands. But
Yeah, it's
I
Anyway.
really paid attention to the titties.
I
but-
looked up and I yelled. I think I yelled tits at you like 5 times. Like, Jake, there's tits. Look at the tits. Why are there tits on Star Trek? They're right fucking there.
Why are there tits
Wow,
on Star
I'm really
Trek?
starting to feel like Ames and I are the same person also, because I feel like that would be my reaction to tits on Star Trek.
And Jake's like, well, we saw some on Discovery. I'm like, yeah, that's Discovery. That's streaming all
spoilers for season finale or mid-season finale of Discovery.
Oh,
There's
God, that's
titties.
right. Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about the horrible titties. Oh,
They're not good
don't
titties.
shame your
Awful.
titties.
I'm not trying
I like
to.
her.
They're
don't-
alien titties.
Anyway,
I just.
we bounced around from Enterprise to
Oh,
Discovery.
wait. But before we go on, though, no, never mind. You're right. You're right. You're right.
Overall, you know, there's some issues here and there, but overall, I thought this one was fun.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I thought it was good development for the Klingons.
Yeah, and for Worf.
And for Worf, absolutely.
Yeah. I think this season, or really this series so far, Worf has done so little in every episode. Like, he's there as, like, the Klingon guy who's around, who's strong and fights sometimes. But he's done so very little to seem like a character that it's nice that you get to see him. Like, I'm sure, like, everyone's watching, like, there's a Klingon. Why are we not addressing that there's a Klingon?
I was kind of wondering, because I know, I can't think of her real name at the moment, but I know that Tasha Yar doesn't... Denise Crosby, thank you. Will be, she won't be seeing the season out. And I kind of wonder if the writers knew that, and we're kind of like, oh god, fuck, start bigging up Worf.
Well, yeah, but this would not be the episode to do it, because everything he does is so against, like, what security should be on this fucking ship.
Well, yeah, he's not security yet, though.
I know,
He's
but
red shirt.
they see how he does with these fucking other Klingons, and they're like, yup, that's the man
Look,
for the job of security chief.
They gotta cut him some slack. He's really almost never met any of his own people,
Yeah, I wondered
but
about
knows an
that.
extraordinary amount about them at the same time.
That was my question.
Well,
Like,
he's
how
read a lot of
often
books.
does Worf see other Klingons, and how does he know all their customs?
I'm guessing.
Like, he joined in the yell a second late, so maybe he was like, right, the yell! I have to do the yell now!
Well, it's like that person that has been to church in a long time. Oh, fuck, now we kneel.
Yeah, I'm guessing.
Now we clap? No, we don't clap.
Never clap.
We know he
Jesus!
was before the age of whatever they said.
Which the implication is super young. Like,
Yeah.
crazy young.
Well,
Well, they left him with his guidebook.
Klingon how to.
well, and also, like, I'm assuming, given that there's a treaty, that he could just hop on the Wikipedia.
Yeah.
He did the Wikipedia research to learn
Klingon
how.
for
I mean,
dummies.
it could be, his mother was responsible and was, again, made sure to expose him, even if not directly, through some sort of medium to his culture.
Do you
And-
think...
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna, another thing that we're gonna find, I think, is that Worf clearly, although he is extremely devoted to Klingon culture, he is so devoted, I think, that other Klingons are not nearly as Klingon as Worf is.
True.
Like he's like he gets. And I don't want to spoil things in the future, but he does get very pedantic
His
about
foster parents must have fucking hated him.
like yeah. I mean, he's just like you'll see these other Klingons that are they're Klingons. They're boisterous. They laugh all the time, but Worf is like always serious, always honor.
Yeah, big guy doesn't smile.
He's like He's the he's the guy that he clearly read Klingon culture versus experienced Klingon culture, and I think that comes out.
He's the person that reads the old I forget what it was called, but the book that basically established the code of Bushido and thinks that's really how samurai acted.
The hiragana?
I think so.
Hagakure.
There we go.
Hagakure.
That sounds, yeah. Or, again, who've read a book of medieval chivalry and think that's really how knights acted, when most of them were just rapists and murderers.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you do.
Yeah. Sorry, that got weird.
Anyway. Anybody else got anything for these?
I don't think so. I think we hit all my major points. Worf, report them, Worf. We already talked about that.
Yes. I wrote, reminder, saucer separation is a thing.
I listed
expensive.
I listed that as saucer sep cocktease. Because Riker's like, should we separate the saucer? And the audience were like, ooh, that again. No.
Oh.
A battle. Worf has a boner.
Here's the thing: if they wanted to,
So nothing to add then, Chris.
you know what though? I bet you the Battle Bridge set was occupied by movie filming at this
maybe.
point, possibly, because I think that set was also used for the Bridge of the Enterprise A.
Yeah. Well, again, I'm surprised. When the Klingons were running down one way, the fucking Cybox men were running down the other in the same corridor. Hi.
Yeah, exactly.
High five.
Woo! You're on the Enterprise A? No, you weren't.
Yeah, they had a better brig in Star Trek V than they had in this episode.
Yeah, they did. Oh, God.
But they
Vulcan.
Oh, Voldemort.
Voldemort. That fucking guy.
Oh, I also wrote, pity Troy's not here this week, or we'd know that they're hiding something.
That's probably why she wasn't there, honestly. They probably writing this episode like, oh shit, we can't have Troy.
Yeah, like Picard says, no, there's something about them. I'm like, where's Troy?
There's something about them.
No.
They're a vaudeville double act, but they're Klingons. I wish they
Johnny, play us off.
I'd love to have seen. I'd love to see two people just do Who's on First in full Klingon makeup. No other reference to the fact they're Klingons. Just, maybe.
I think maybe they did know that Denise Crosby was leaving at this point because they went out of their way to diss her in the cold open when they're like, all right, we're going to send an away party. Yeah. You stay there.
Yeah, just in case something bad excuse.
Also, violating the neutral zone.
Yeah, no one was really too worried about that.
Apparently it's not as big a deal.
Whichever one it was. Presumably Romulan, I guess, maybe?
Yeah, I think that's the only neutral zone.
Who knows?
That we're aware of now. Okay, well, anyway, I think that just about does it for these two episodes, which I'm going to give this week a thumbs up on both. A more enthusiastic thumbs up for the Klingon one, and sort of a thumbs, 45-degree angle.
I give it a tolerable week.
I liked it. I thought it was a good week. I felt good about this week.
I think we will have at least one of the episodes which I recognize. I like this episode anyway. Next week we will be talking about The Arsenal of Freedom, which, I don't know, I love that episode. I like
we'll
that
talk about Wesley's funeral, my favorite episode.
Yes, The Arsenal of Freedom. We'll get to that. We'll talk about that next week. One of my favorite episodes of the season. It's just such a cool sci-fi concept, but we'll talk about that next week.
I feel like there's probably several hundred gun stores in this country called The Arsenal of Freedom.
Somebody was watching this episode and was like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it's good. It's got a good political message. It's a good sci-fi story.
Hey, stop teasing
Classic.
us.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was like an Ellison script or something, even though he's a fuckhead.
A lot of fuckheads.
And then Symbiosis, which I don't remember anything about, so I'm sure that one will be very memorable. But anyway, so we'll be talking about this next week. Of course, you have been listening to A Star to Steer Her By. You can find our podcast on Facebook by searching for A Star to Steer Her By.
Or do whatever you did to find it the time that you've obviously used now.
Maybe they're sitting in a crowded office and somebody is rudely playing the podcast in like the cube over.
Jesus, that person's gonna get fired.
I work in an open office. I like.
You're constantly hearing podcasts yelling cunts, cunts, cunts.
Touch dicks!
Fisting!
Touch dicks! Brown eye!
Okay. All right. Wow. But anyway, you can find us on Facebook. You can also find us on Twitter and Tumblr. Our name there is SSHB Podcast. You can download us on SoundCloud, iTunes, or Google Play. And if you do that, please do us a favor and give us a review and a rating. 5 stars is preferable for search priority. And you can give us the dirt in the comment. But we would love to hear from you. And if you can't do that, the second best thing you can do is to tell somebody else about our podcast and send them to iTunes, because we love listeners and we could use some more of them because we don't have a lot.
That wasn't at all desperate and pleading.
Please listen. No, but no, really, if you like our podcast, share us with your friends that you think would also like our podcast.
And your enemies, fuck it.
Yeah, fuck those guys.
Yeah.
If you know someone who's really uptight and is offended by talk of cunts and brown eyes,
I'll come torture them for you.
Send them. But anyway, I think that's all I really have to say. I think I hit all the points. As I said, this is a Star to Steer Her By. My name is Jake.
This has been Chris.
This has been Ames.
And this is always Caitlin.
Bye-bye.
Stop trying to come up with a catchline.
Okay. Did I say this was episode 65?
Yes, you did.
Oh, yeah.
Thank goodness.
Okay.
Yes, we
well,
did.
This has been episode 60. Woo!
Donate your used sweaters to Wesley.
Take it easy.
Take the...
Take the...
Look at that fucking thing.
Fucking A.
Oleana or some shit.
Right.
Something like that.
Oleana?
She wasn't
Isn't
good
that
at the
like
test.
isn't that like a margarine spread?
That's Oleo.
Whatever, same
And then
thing.
there's Olestra, which was that, like,
The
diet stuff
oil
that
that
made you
gave you poop.
yeah.
Ugh.
Well, it didn't really make you poop so much as it made liquid fat run out your asshole, but it's not really the same.
Nice.
That's what it does.
Isn't that how there's a diet pill that does the same thing?
Yeah, yes. That's the fat bypasses everything and just leaks out of your butt. And you need to like wear diapers and stuff for real. That's a real thing.
Evidently, I've heard that that diet pill actually says in the instructions, oh yeah, it's fine to take this before you go to work. Just we advise you to wear brown pants.
No.
Stop! It must not. It couldn't possibly.
A friend who I know. Who
I call
has
bullshit on your
actually,
friend.
I don't know if he was taking it ever or if he just knew someone that did. Evidently, the instructions said wear brown pants.
I am definitely calling shenanigans. I don't know if I believe it.
Well, we should get some.
I believe.
If you're listening, friend of mine who knows about the brown pants,
Call in and out yourself to the whole world.
Exactly. Talk about how you shit yourself.
Yikes.
Oh, God. So one thing that minorly